Great. Okay. Hello, everyone in the recording. Welcome to today's Collab Lab. We have been doing skill shares for a few months, but like last month, we're going to transition a bit into uh, opening more broad than just social media, because a lot of us are working on varying projects from podcasts to musical albums and just our consultation and freelance work in general. We all do different things. So I also wanted to say that maybe today we could even open our reflection to something even broader than professional work and think about personal work and personal life, I mean, not work. So if you personal life and don't feel confined by trying to think of some projects you're working on. Let's like really get into needs and sort of return back to the conversations we've been having the past year with all of you guys facilitating these conversations about needs and how we can be there for each other. And that's what holistic systems cooperative has been about the whole time is pooling our resources and knowledge and really supporting each other where we need it. So I have an awesome example, which was just to, kick things off. I've been struggling a bit with what might be ADHD, and I've been struggling with.
Oh, you just lost your audio for some reason. Yeah, you, Zoe, we lost your audio. We have your face, but not your
Can you hear us?
mouth.
Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
yeah,
Yeah.
we got you.
You're back.
Good, I'm glad. Oh, okay. Yeah, it says my connection was unstable for a bit. Okay, I hope we're all good. So I was struggling with ADHD and I asked Rob if he knew anyone because I know Rob has a lot of healer friends or maybe people who could be there for me. And yeah, he totally connected me to an amazing person. And I've met them twice and it's been really helpful actually. And I've been working with a lot of, the shame and feelings of oh my God, I always forget this word. There's an I and a D and an N. Inadequacy. Inadequacy. And yeah, it's been really wonderful. So thank you, Rob, for that. And I'm telling you the story to encourage you to share your need because sometimes we don't share, where it's a little vulnerable to make an ask like that to the community, but that's what this community is really for. And yeah, so I love this community for that. And yay, hearts. So let's see. I'm gonna take a look at my notes right here. Just make sure I don't forget anything. Do, do, do. Oh yeah, so before we get into the structure of this today, does anyone want to make any announcements or share anything? Um, could be, yeah, awesome. Rob.
I just want to, you brought this in, so might as well do it now. Um, we'd like to change the start time of the meeting, of our community meeting for the next 2 weeks. That's the 16th and the 23rd, an hour later. Right, this would allow, Christine to come, and there's good topics for both meetings. So I checked in on it with folks, and I hadn't heard anything back, like a no, but I just wanted to check on that now. And so anybody feel like that would be an issue or conflict?
16th and the
Yeah.
23rd. Yeah, I have this meeting that sort of overlaps as it is now, and then it would be like full overlap. Um yeah, so I it would be tough on me, but that's
Okay. Is there? I mean, we could split the difference. Is there maybe like one of the meetings where the
uh
topic feels more, more like one that you'd want to be involved.
Yeah, maybe next week would be better, and then I'll skip my other meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Sounds good. I mean, I think that's yeah, I think that's fair, and we'll be fine with Christine. We'll split the difference. So next week we'll do it regular. Next week we'll do it regular time, and then on the 23rd we'll start an hour later.
Okay.
Okay, those are my announcements. Thank you.
That's awesome, because it would be nice to have Christine here, but it's also nice to have Newman here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other announcements or just things people want to share for fun before we start? Saya.
So just for fun, in case not everyone read the whole email yesterday, I'm inviting next week to be an ice cream meeting. So if you like ice cream or other cold, lovely things, I invite you to come to the meeting with your treat, with your thing.
Yes.
Love it, love it, love it.
That is
So good.
challenge accepted.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, my little announcement before we begin is if you're interested in leading a Skillshare or
What?
oh
What
man,
is
where did
Rob?
you
Rob
find
has got
that?
like everything over there.
How,
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had these things like fly up in multitudes on my screen before. I feel like Joshua now. I don't know if I have this, but no, see, I don't have that. But
oh, how do you
somehow
do it?
I've got an effect.
Oh, where it recognizes what you're doing,
That's funny.
like this.
I wish I could do that. Are you just clicking the reaction
I'm
button?
clicking the reactions, but I have a separate. I have a second layer. It says send with effect.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a brave new world.
Well,
Distract the meeting. But
I'll just do a boring thumbs up like this.
just regular old thumbs up. Fair enough. All right, I won't distract the meeting anymore, other than those.
This is the last time. This is the last time that I'll do it.
Awesome. Well, I was going to say that if you're interested in leading a Skillshare, please talk to me. They are monthly now. And also, you could also facilitate a collab like today. It's pretty fun and simple. And, it's important too because there's so much wealth of knowledge in this community. And I'm really excited to get into it today. So, any more emojis or thoughts before I get into the exercise? Okay, too bad, no more emojis. Okay, so I like to do the rose thorn bud activity, and that's what we're going to structure today's meeting with. I think some of you are already familiar with the rose thorn bud, and I will just send a really oversimplified version of it in the chat. Oh yeah, thanks. The meeting dates for upcoming meetings are in the chat. That's important. And then our beautiful rose thorn bud activity. This always seems to work well, and I thought it could be a good way to open our discussion of our needs and sort of touch base with the community and each other, because I haven't seen like Newman forever. And yeah, it's good to like check in where we're at, and let's get into it. So we share our rose, something that is beautiful, blossoming in our lives, something good. And remember, it could be personal, professional, or even personal this time around, I think. The thorn is something that's not so good in your life. And this is where we could start reflecting on our needs and even an ask you might have for the community, like how I asked Rob if he knew anyone who could help me with my symptoms of ADHD, whatever it may be that I am dealing with. And we could respond to each other as the topics come up. So with the thorns, we will also talk about the offerings that we might have for each other to help each other with. And then finally, we'll get into the bud, something we're looking forward to, something that is yet to come. And it's a pretty fun exercise that I do a lot with my communities. Maybe too much. Cool. Now I wasn't sure about this while writing my little agenda today, but how would a full 10 minutes be for you guys to reflect on these? Is that a little too long or is that kind of cool? Like give yourself a full 10 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
Justine says thumbs up.
Justine, okay, yeah. Yeah, it does seem like it might be a little long, but you know, I think it'll, once we get into it, it'll probably be, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's longer than normal. And I don't know why I was like sort of called to it today, but
yeah,
I'll set a timer for 10 minutes. Feel free to walk around the house, go to the
yeah,
bathroom while you're doing this, and like kind of ruminate on it, get in your body. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. That was part of my rosebud thorns, you know, I was just like, oh man, like, yeah, okay, so that's good. All right.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I'm feeling my back's a little weird, so I might do some yoga stuff while I think about it. Okay, cool. See you guys in 10 minutes, and let me know if you have any questions as well.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Oh, give us a halftime.
Oh yeah, okay. And oh, I've never done the timer on Zoom before. I was just gonna use my phone, but it's a good
I'm used to it.
opportunity.
Unless you want to like, I can turn it on unless you want to learn how
I
to do it.
probably should learn.
Okay,
Let's see.
it's part of your exercise.
I don't see it anywhere.
It's in the
Where?
apps.
Oh, apps.
Apps, yeah, it's an app.
Ah, there's apps. Okay.
Yeah, the apps, like the appetizer, but without the taxer.
Thank you. See you guys in 10 minutes. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm determined. This is the 5-minute mark. We have another 5 minutes. I hope everyone is having a great time. See you in 5 minutes.
Also realizing I could probably pause the recording during this time. This is
Up sometime. Great. Well, I hope you had fun doing that exercise. In my other community, it's almost like every time we do rose thorn bud, it's like again, but it always seems to work, so that's why we keep returning to it. But if you know of any good similar exercises I could introduce to them so they're not so bored with this,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
me know. Great. So, is anyone eager to share theirs first? If you don't want to go in the order rose, thorn, bud, and it's kind of mixed up, that's okay too. And I'm thinking we could like raise our hand, or if no one's talking, just jump in to respond to people's needs, or yeah, kind of organic responses.
Yeah.
Sound good? No one eager to share their rose thorn bud? If no one is, I can begin.
You know, and it's somewhat professional. I got paid for it was like a rose, like a fruition, kind of like a full moon, like, oh yeah, look, I did all this, but I got paid for a big contract for being an usher at the World Cup cricket. And I was able to like match all of my credit cards. So I didn't have to you know, like you're like going slowly into debt. And then I was able to like pay for everything and could like put extra money onto other debt. And I was like, oh, that's a new feeling. Oh, wow. It's not like I've got a savings account or anything, but I was able, and so that felt like that was sort of a fruition, like a nice thing. And I'm continuing to do a little more work in the ushering thing. I've got a job tomorrow morning, for the day. It's gonna be nice.
That sounds fun too.
Yeah. Oh, the Cricket World Cup and being an usher is so badass. It's really nice. It's really
Wow,
it's fun.
that's awesome. Congrats on your rose.
Yay.
That's super cool. Do you want to share the other ones too?
Well, you know, in that sort of line, because then I was looking forward to some other job fairs that are, you know, in this ushering line, because once you sort of get involved with the community, they're like, oh, Madison Square Garden is hiring, you know, the other venues are hiring, and the US Open is like 2 weeks of like pretty intense work. And that's gonna so I was looking forward to those. So that was a bud, but then it was also a thorn because it does take a toll on the body. It does sort of pull me away from other things that I want to do, and you know, so in a way, it's sort of, you know, it sort of touches all things. Um, but it's a small thorn and a big bud. You know what I mean? There you go.
Cool. I'm curious, you mentioned work that you want to do. What kind of work are you more passionate about than this?
You know, I it's funny because I am passionate about doing the ushering thing simply because like the bar is low and you don't really, but you can bring, like for instance, I was with family friends and they said that their crossing guard recently passed away. And this crossing guard like did her job with so much like exuberance and joy and was like a neighborhood, you know, pillar, that they planted a tree and made a plaque, you know, when this lady wasn't around. So in a way, like it is an avenue to like bring my maximum numanness out into the world. But you know, you know, is it? You know, it's just, you know what I mean? You know, it's like, oh, is that? It's funny. My dad and, you know, parents can sometimes give you a harsh buzz. And if I'd showed up when I was 25 and said, hey, I want to be an usher, I think you would have had a different reaction. But last night when we were hanging out with family friends in a big fancy restaurant, he's like, my kid works for the Mets. it's like, we're gonna go to the ballpark, we're gonna do the thing, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It felt pretty nice. Yeah.
Oh, that resonates with me a lot because my
Yeah.
parents, like, their validation means a lot to me, but I don't always get it, especially when I'm like, doing work for no money or very little money, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm in general, I am feeling very rosy. It feels pretty good. Yeah.
Love it. It doesn't sound like you have much of a need to share and ask of the community.
No, unless you've got anyone is holding a bag of ADA cryptocurrency when on Cardano that can vote in Project Catalyst, because one of the thorn buds roses is some of the projects that are up for funding in this latest round, which is Fund 12. And they're generally, the one that I'm most interested in is a study group for like bringing things like rose, thorn, bud to communities as a form of governance and collaboration. And a lot of the stuff that we do here at HSC, dovetails into that. And it's not a huge project. It's actually just sort of like a stipend to continue with the study group. And to phrase it in the form of a need, I don't think it's going to be funded, but I'm not getting the feedback, like the quality feedback, like I partly because I don't like to get feedback, so it's hard to sort of ask for it because it's going to be difficult. Um, but it might be interesting as a community ask to say, hey, could we look at this project and, in a more structured way, look it over maybe? I don't know exactly how it would look, but yeah, that could be a need. Yeah, that could be a thorn that can be, I don't know, dethorned.
Okay.
I
Making a
just
note.
I made a note of that on the, in the meeting notes. I just put it, like put it in here.
Yeah, if we're working, and I think that the Hypha and the other crypto protocols or other like grants, like if somebody wanted a grant, then like reviewing our projects and getting the kind of critical feedback that you can kind of take from a group of people that you come and meet with weekly, and that you couldn't get from or wouldn't be, you know what I mean? That's just something special. The value that we put in by making these connections, weekly and periodically. I think that's a way to leverage that. Like, and I didn't really think about that, but yeah, that would be a need and a way to, to kind of let the community support us in that way, because of the trust that we built and the sort of familiarity and all that type of stuff. And I would also, one of the things about, saying a need, like I would love to do that for other people. So it's sort of like the two-way street. I always like it when I see Justine and her, her offering, or like her business of, I think she does, do you do like singing or like vocal coaching and stuff like that? Like your work is very cool. It's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I do somatic singing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which isn't really a thing yet. So it's
Well,
it's natural for you to forget what it's called because the new
well, I
program.
will tell you that I lived in Northern California for a good long while, and I would as a part of my weekly routine, I was always at Thursdays at this place called Harbin Hot Springs. And
Yes, Harbin.
you know the Harbin. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was a part of the Thursday crew. We're still during the week, and it was, still cheap to get in there, and you could camp for $30 or something. You get access to everything. and there were workshops on Friday afternoon, and there was a somatic singing coach, and
Whoa.
it was mind blowing, and it's like just so much of like vocalness and that. So I'm very interested, and I wanted to make sure and that I did touch base on it, and I do recognize and I know the power of that type of work.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
great to hear. I'd
Yeah.
love to hear more about your experience with that another time.
Yeah, for sure. I seems like I've got it written down who it was. And I'll try to dig it up and sort of see. I do have some notes to share.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see who it is. I know Harbin burned down. I don't know if they've rebuilt. I think that was back in before
2000,
2020.
yeah, 2014 is when
Okay.
it burnt. And
Yeah.
they have rebuilt. It's not the same.
Hmm.
I mean, the water is there and the vibe is good, but like all the residents, which was such a big part of that, the people that lived out there left, and but there's it's slowly building back, and
Yeah.
they are doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
Do you
are
know
you
about?
where are you based?
I'm kind of near San Jose,
Oh, okay.
but
Oh, so you're in the Bay. All right.
yeah, in the Bay. But when I do group classes, I usually do them in the Santa Cruz Mountains or in Saratoga,
Okay. Okay.
just because there's some nice, beautiful wooden decks in the trees out there that I like to kind of host people outside.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All of this discussion sort of resonates with what I was going to share today. So how about before we move on, and I might, grab the microphone because I'm inspired um, by all this somatic singing and Harbin stuff. Um, I was going to ask, does anyone else want to respond to the Cardano project and all of that before we move on?
Well, there's one thing you could do, Newman, which is share the link, not only with the people in this group, but you can share it in Discord. So that way, we could either the people here or others could take in that need and say, oh, okay, maybe I can take a look at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it seems the blocker is one sort of not it takes like a good rose thorn bud activity to surface the need, and I was like, oh yeah, that would be and it's sort of, and when you say it like that, I'm like, oh, it's kind of silly that I haven't done that.
Oh,
But yeah, that is true, and it is something that I want to know what everyone's project is. Like, but I also get why it's sometimes hard to share a project, but I really do want to know what everybody's working on and etc. Yeah, and not necessarily even just to help out, just to sort of to cheer or to sort of be connected, be in connection.
Yeah, it's important to connect all what we're doing for sure. Learn from each other, support each other.
Yeah.
Great. Well, are you gonna put it in the Discord then?
Yeah. I definitely will. Let's see. I'll do it now.
Sweet. Any more about Cardano before we move on to another rose thorn bud, which may be mine or someone else's?
No, I think that's it. I'm pretty stoked to surface all that and the chance to express. So that was cool. Thank you very much.
Cool. I'll just add in that both in sort of sharing context like this, but also in what you're posting, Newman, there's always a possibility of being really articulate or clear about what kind of feedback we want or what kind of support we want.
Right.
And in circles that I'm in, sometimes people just want to be witnessed. For example, someone has had chronic health stuff and they've done a lot of troubleshooting. And she says to the group that she wants to share a little health update, but does not want any brainstorming or any new ideas because it's too much. That's not the point of that moment. So anyway, so I'm curious, like, if you're posting Cardano, Newman, like if there are 2 or 3 like key questions, key aspects you want feedback on, or etc. It can be helpful. Or if it's general, it's just general. That's fine too. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great insight. Yeah. I'm not certain what, I don't know exactly which, but that it's a good safari to go on. It's just like, all right, like kind of
Right.
like drilling down and being specific, because then, yeah, then it helps. I get it. Yeah, that's cool.
Is anyone else eager to share?
I'm crunching, but I'm gonna take a break from these chips to
Mhm.
comment on what Sia said. Sorry, Saya. It's not your face. There's not your problem that there's another famous person with your name.
I know. Another famous person.
Another
Another one. Maybe slightly less famous than you, but still pretty up there. Except that nobody actually knows what she looks like. And
That's what I tell my children. I'm like, she's so anonymous. Maybe I am her.
you could be. You could be. You know? I mean, from like the nose down, right? Because that's all we know.
Oh, we
It's like
see.
nose down identity. You
Right.
definitely could be.
Yeah.
But that's actually not what I wanted to chime in on. But I really like what you said about kind of just the opportunity to be witnessed and to share, and also Niman, what you said about how just doing this exercise has already, like, there's already benefit just from doing it for ourselves. And maybe with people sharing, like in this group today, if maybe in the beginning, if people want to say like, I want to share and I want feedback, or I want to share and that's all, and kind of give people the option, like, because I think sharing in itself is already like kind of a transformational, when you say things out loud and you kind of like speak them into the universe, there's already some transformation that can come from that, even if you're not, even if you're still figuring it out and like not in a place that you're ready to receive feedback. So maybe, yeah, then we can also kind of listen. It might also alter the way we're listening. Like if we're listening with the intention of giving feedback, we might entertain those thoughts of what could help them. And if we're doing that and they don't want feedback, then maybe we're not like holding the space in like a more active listening way that would be better for them. So just an idea.
That's great. That reminds me a lot of the Dharma sharing my friend leads us in every week. If you guys are familiar with it, maybe you are already. But yeah, whoever is speaking gets to share as much or as long as they want, and people just listen, just practice active listening, and having that space every week has been really nice. But anyway, enough of that. Who wants to share next? And like Justine and Saya said, you can share just to be witnessed, or you can share with the goal of getting feedback on a certain project, whatever you need.
I'm happy to dive in. Rose, there are a whole bunch, and I'll just, one of them is doing my really long swims across the lake and back. That's been happening more this past week or two. I'm really happy, feeling really strong, stronger than I thought. This week I'm spending a week with just one of my kids, and then their dad and I were swapping for next week. So I get this one-on-one time with each kid. It's been really, really nice. And my website is closer and closer to being ready, and that's exciting. Yeah. Oh, and I'm sharing, I feel really open to all kinds of feedback, whether it's like suggestions or like empathy, like, oh, I've been there, man. Like I'm open to that kind of response too. And brainstorming, all of it. Yeah. Yeah, so thorns, one of them is that this like sort of political apathy that I have right now. I don't really know what to do. I don't really feel clear on how to respond, how to engage my like inner activist right now. Like so that's up. It feels necessary and weirdly like far away. Like it's all too much. I don't, maybe I'm numbing it out because it's a lot right now. But I also don't feel so great about positioning myself so far away, like in an inner way, like so far, so disconnected from the urgency. Although, you know, I did write about this philosopher, Bayo Akomolafe, in the email yesterday, who I just was able to see. And one of the things he's often quoted as saying are, the times are urgent. We must slow down. Sitting with that too. Okay, so the one thorn is the political apathy. And then another one is client relations. I have a client who I've probably mentioned or alluded to before, where the personal and professional line is pretty blurry. And yesterday I was yelled at and they cried and like left the room. I mean, we were on Zoom, but then they just like left for a few minutes, left the meeting completely. And so I'm sitting with that, and it's been a friendship. It was a personal relationship before it was a professional one. So I'm just sitting with like a lot of care and attention and sorting through what are my needs and boundaries in relation to them, like personally and professionally. And I'm getting a lot of clarity. I'm actually landing in a lot of clarity. So I guess for that, you know, maybe not a lot of feedback, but like if you've been there or if you've found like one or, you know, really simple, like one or two tools or lenses that have really helped you navigate with that, that'd be great. And then I have a bunch of like very concrete sort of needs and things, but I think I'm just going to pause there because those are like my two big sort of things to possibly workshop if people have thoughts.
Yeah, I have a little something I could offer actually from my friend Jonah, who's also a friend of Zoe's. He just became a nutritionist, and he was actually kind of trained, and it was recommended like through his school program that he not take on family members or friends or even close acquaintances as patients, and that he recommend them to other people that he met in the program. So everybody's kind of all recommending people to each other. So they're still getting the same amount of business, but they're having that little bit of separation, you know, between being the care provider for a friend. And it's for exactly reasons like this, where, so the example he gave me is like, if he gives advice, you know, to a family member or friend, you know, as to like what to eat, or like gives them kind of like, you know, like a meal plan or a program, and they aren't following it correctly, he as their friend has to like bring down the hammer, you know, like or he as the nutritionist has to bring down the hammer, but he as their friend can't do it.
Right.
And they as his friend don't respect his opinion the same way because it feels personal, even though it is professional and even though he is a specialist. They
Right.
still take it as this is a personal, you know, issue, or this is just your opinion. It's like, well, you're paying them for their opinion. So that's kind of, I mean, it's a totally different, it might be a totally different way to do business that maybe wouldn't work for what your business is. But if you have other people who are doing similar things, you can maybe reach out to them and kind of form like a bond or an agreement. You know, I'm going to send my personal friends your way. You send your personal friends my way. Like find somebody else who wants that level of separation so that you're not just sending all their business to them, but like if it's a mutual thing, you'll all benefit. And then you still get to help your friend by referring them, you know?
Yeah,
So
that's great.
that's kind of one idea.
Thank you. That's really great. I want to, I guess, want to articulate one more sort of nuance here, which is a kind of fascination for me of exploring the edges and the gray areas of what our professional culture doesn't do. Right?
Mhm.
So where are the lines between community support and therapy, between being good friends and relationships and professional relationships and therapy? I'm not a therapist. I'm not even officially trained as a coach. I just happen to have the kind of presence that people start to sink into and rely on and then act out into once they feel safe enough. So that's what I wanted to add. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe in that
Helpful
case,
though, Justine. It's really
yeah.
helpful suggestion.
Well, maybe in that case, it could be something where, at a certain point, if you feel like what they need is like a professional therapist or like maybe this licensed life coach or some other thing, you could just say, there's like a common thing that I hear in like the wellness world and that I use is like, this is as far as I can take you.
Right.
And here's my recommendation for the next part of your journey, for your next chapter. So it's not like you're like, I'm done with you, but you're like, this is the extent of my knowledge and what I can help you with. And I'm not trained in these other things that you need, but I can send you to those people. So again, it comes back to referrals, but it's kind of a different way. Instead of referring them in the beginning, it's like maybe referring them later on. So you can still kind of have that like more like nebulous flow between like, you know, it's like it's professional, but it's also just community support. You want to help your friends, you want to be there for them. Maybe you can give them financial deals that other professionals wouldn't. I do the same thing. I have people that like they can't afford to do vocal coaching, and they do a trade with me and they give me Reiki or they give me like psychic readings and stuff. So if there's financial strains, it can help to be like, well, this is as far as I can take you. And even so, like, this is as far as I can take you for free is another thing that I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to you though. That's really hard.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure your client doesn't want you to share this information, but I'm kind of curious if you're willing to share it, what they were crying about, because I also have a client who was crying, mostly about just being stressed with the business and, yeah, like a past era was so much better for this business and now it's bad and, yeah, that sort of a vibe.
Maybe you want to pause the recording if we're going to get good boundary setting. Good boundary setting.
Yay, thanks.
The other point you brought up, Saya, about political apathy is one that I've been thinking about a lot in the past like 15 years. I've been on a total journey and it could take a long time to talk about it. So if you ever wanted to meet up like even one-on-one or chat about it on text message, I would love that because I've like had some epiphanies and I even was like, I had a lot of suicidal ideation in the past. Did I just tell that to Justine a few days ago, right? Yeah. But when the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you don't know how to take on what level of responsibility you want to take on. Yeah, I felt like a waste of space and I found ways that really have, nipped those thoughts in the bud, and I feel and like I'm in a really okay space in the recent years. So I'd love to share that at some point if people are interested, if you're interested, Saya. Because yeah, it was hard for me in the past. Yeah, I feel pretty at peace now.
That's great. And that was actually that was my idea, around what, this particular thorn, was like sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed about all of that, like it helps me to go and like talk to like an activist, you know, or somebody who I feel like is like that's really like something that's, you know, part of, you know. And so I was gonna say like, oh, there's a way where I'm just sort of, you know, like I put Zoe in that kind of identity or whatever, you know, not trying to put her in a box, but like somebody who's there's really like a big part of their life, you know. Another, you know, I have a good friend whose name is Noah, right, and they're like my ally in this because I'm like, you know, what am I doing, and I'm not doing anything, and you know, and so it's like I talk with them and gets me like a good perspective,
Mm,
and you know, and then also like they have ideas. They're like, hey, like you could, like, this is one action item you could do, and it like, you know, it makes a difference, right? And so I'm like, oh, okay, this is something, this is just like a little thing I could do, right? You know, and I also, right, and I talk to them because there's a lot of my activism is around, right, like this holistic systems, and saying like, hey, I'm trying to create a new model, you know, and bring something, you know,
mhm.
create systemic change. So, and it helps for me to talk with them and be like, am I like, is this real? Am I like just playing around? Am I deluded? Do I need to just be like going and, you know, protesting and being social, you know? So it's like, but it helps me kind of talk that out. So, and so that was, yeah. So really Zoe, that was my idea. I'm like, talk to Zoe or Noah or your friendly local activist.
Yeah, and you know, seconding what Rob was saying, like, you know, finding the activity or the action that works best for you and being okay with just doing that. And enjoying life when you're not doing that activism too, because like I just want to leave you with this imagery that I have from when I lived in Korea. A boat sank and 300 children were inside that ship and they all died. It's a national tragedy, and the government sabotaged all the investigations. A lot of my friends were on those investigation crews, and papers would just go missing from the office. And a lot of my friends were the parents. They became friends. I became friends with the parents of those children. And what I learned is that, like, most of my interactions with these parents, they're eating, they're drinking, they're laughing, they're singing
Mm,
together. They keep doing life. And you know, one of my first questions was like, why are they just partying and hanging out? And it's like, no, they have every right to do that, and they're teaching us a lesson
Mm.
in activism, which is you have to keep living your life or the movement will not continue. So, um, if you need some space, that's okay. And then at some point, your body and your mind will tell you, oh, this is too much space. I want to go back. And yeah,
mm,
so don't feel too guilty, is what I'm gonna say.
yeah,
I'm,
thank
I,
you.
yeah. I think and Saya, this is a great share, and it definitely is resonating, and it seems like there's really good um things about it because it's really the personal and the professional. And uh and and Zoe, when you were introducing this, I think you had like a wonderful slip because you said personal work and professional work. And it was like, I was like, oh, right. And there is that term. It was like, oh yeah, I'm doing inner work, or I'm, you know, and I'm like, and sometimes I mean, I get that. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm exercising so that I can, you know, work on my heart and all that stuff. But eventually, I guess like it might be the difference between training and then for a sport and then actually playing the sport.
Mm,
Um, and uh, I think that's what this is, or this may inform this whole idea of this boundary and this sort of where there's a need for community support and then kind of trying to shift it into a professional, um, you know, to work it as a profession. Um, you know, and that boundary. I just look back on the notes. I was like, oh yeah, right. This is personal work, personal life, professional work, you know. It gets a
Exactly.
little blurry, yeah. It gets a little blurry. But Asaya, I know that you've been focused on this for a while, and that I'm proud of you for like getting into that zone and mixing it up. And if you're having apathy, it may just be that that there's a lot of heavy lifting that you're doing, and that it's, that is a natural thing. I would
Yeah,
say,
I second that.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. I'm here. I'm just relocating to plug my computer in. Where's the charger?
yeah, and the idea of like trying to help out friends, and another thing that was interesting when you were saying that you had like a contract and that was going, and then when the contract ended, like to reestablish, or you know that it somehow degraded. I've found myself in that position a lot, um, and yeah, other than hearing it and like, yeah, I've been there. Um, I don't have I, I don't have like a tool or anything to offer in that way. Um,
Yeah, I think it's probably just a matter of like learning my best business practices and like learning from the mistake. I'm sure it's a best business practice to always have a contract. And when one expires, write a new one or just repeat the last one, but change the dates and re-sign it,
yeah.
So learning curve.
Well, and we're getting the benefit, and that, thank you for sharing, because then we can kind of, like, because I do think, like Justine is saying that, and those are great phrases that she said. This is as far as I can take you, and when that friends become professional clients, like I think that's in the zone of somebody becoming a helper, healer, and visionary,
Yeah.
because you know what I mean? Like, you're going to work with the people that are around you, uh, uh, to a certain extent, and then there becomes like a shift, like when you're in the class and you're like, okay, we can't help our close friends, but we can refer them, and it kind of becomes a circle. But shifting out of that, and you're learning the lessons to do that. You're learning the lessons to do that.
Totally. And I think all of us in HSC are sort of invested in relationship. Like the more we're around people, the more relationship happens, right? If all we do with each other is like buy a coffee from each other, it's going to be likely a very like chit chat, hey, hi, bye, thanks for my coffee relationship. But the more relating we're doing, the more material there is.
Right.
So
Right.
professional or personal, it's different if you have a roommate versus a friend that you see once a month. Very different dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Before we move on to somebody else, I actually had a question for you, Saya. I was wondering, the kind of like service and care that you're providing for this client friend, is it in the form of just like consultation meetings or like one-on-ones, or do you offer like kind of like continued remote support, like follow-up emails and texting? Do you respond if they just call you randomly, or like how does that all work
How does it
with
work?
them, like, as your client?
Yeah, no, I'm not really on call with anybody. Like I'm also parenting, so I'm quite structured about my time. So meetings are scheduled in advance. If I can respond to something else, I will, but there's not an expectation of like me being constantly available. So business doula, but not doula on call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different model. And the relationship includes the kind of like meetings and tracking and accountability and presencing work that I do with people, but also me doing tasks like helping write the newsletters or edit the blog or, draft social media posts. So it's that combination. Yeah.
You're creating content too.
I also create content. Yeah.
Okay. because I was gonna say, if it was just like consultation basis, then instead of needing a contract every time, you could just have like, you could decide what you think like a good amount of time would be for each consultation, and then how much you would charge for each consultation. But if you're doing all this other, behind the scenes work to actually build their business.
Yeah, no, it's been more like a contract for X number of hours a week of my time.
Right. There's a
That's
lot of
how
variables.
it works.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds hairy.
yeah. All right.
Okay, is anyone else eager to share? It's 5:22. Let's see if we can get to everyone today. But the conversation has been so interesting thus far, and I'm kind of choosing not to be a stickler on time because I'm getting a lot just listening to the different needs and situations you guys are in, because I see myself in those situations. So that's why I'm not being too sticklery. But who's next? We have Justine, Kim, Rob, or Zoe. Anyone excited to share? And if not, that's okay. I
I'm kind of holding a little space for Kim and Justine if they're excited to share, want to jump in. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, Kim, do you want to share?
Actually, I think Zoe is expressed a lot of excitement and wanting to share, and I think she should go ahead and share. If
Okay.
the rest of us are okay with that.
If it's okay with
I
you.
am. I am.
Go.
Okay. I just wanted to go back to Harbin. It's one of my first memories in my whole life is Harbin Hot Springs. So it's a cool first memory. I think I was like 3. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. It's always nice to hear about someone who appreciates Harbin. Um, so my rose has been thanks to a lot of the healers in my life. Um, I think for many years I didn't give myself enough support that I needed. And lately I've been dealing with a lot of difficulties with a new job, and I misread things a lot. My reading fluency could drop as low as 2 percentile. So yeah, I have some issues with like reading. And it's been hard at this new job, and I've been feeling shame and a lot of these feelings of adrenaline and panic. I get panic attacks. Oh, this is a rose. It sounds like a thorn, but so I talked to Rob about this a little bit, and he connected me to Ruth. And the Ruth is also available for other people if you want. She's doing her 30-hour practicum. So I highly recommend her. I think she still has a few hours left of this practicum. And I also told another friend to visit Ruth online Zoom, and she really loved her time there too. And also besides Ruth, I've been doing some somatic singing with Justine. We're doing some trade. Yeah, and singing it really helps my adrenaline issue and panic. And I highly recommend singing or just vocalizing, humming if you're dealing with panic. I don't know if any of you deal with that. And it helps me calm down at work before a meeting or something like that. And I have an eyelash, so just don't get distracted by me picking my eyeball off. And then another friend has been leading Dharma sharing every week. And that has been a really cool space to kind of detach from guilt and just talk what you need to talk and be witnessed, like you guys were saying, Saya and Justine. So yeah, these have helped me with my issues of feeling shame for being inadequate in certain learning disability ways. And yeah, it's good. And with that, I've also destructured my schedule a little bit. For many years, I thought that more structure would help me reach my goals and get enough hours in of work for the week. But I'm learning that a lot of people with ADHD, like what's best for you is just to let yourself procrastinate and do what you need to do. And kind of like scratch the itch, and then you could finally hyper focus later. So I've been really enjoying my mornings lately, and I encourage you to explore that if you think you might have ADHD or something like that. Cool. So that's my rose, and my thorn, it relates to clients, and I'm looking for whatever you guys want to offer, whether it's just witnessing me or if you have ideas, or we could commiserate together. But so many of my clients, are struggling, and it's beyond my control as a social media person, like huge number dips, just like tanking in the past few months. Bigger tanking than we've ever seen in the history of the business. And one of these businesses is 50 years old. So, and they might go out of business soon. Yeah, so I'm feeling sort of like I've done what I can with my social media, and it's nice that they really want to keep me on as an employee, but seeing like mass difficulty amongst so many of my clients, especially commodities. Experiences and real life communities seem to be doing okay, but people who sell things, kind of hard. Yeah, so that's just kind of, frustrating. Like, where am I going to get my next job after this one's over? You guys are familiar with that, I'm sure. But I just crave for that stability because I really love a stable job. And yeah, maybe consulting at a higher price is the direction to go, but that's also less stable than I sort of want. So that's where I'm at lately. Maybe it's something a lot of us deal with and we don't really have an answer. I don't know.
Well, for the social media tanking, a lot of that is because of the algorithm reboot that's happening, right?
Yeah, the algorithm sucks. Like I've been reposting videos that did great last year, like even, semi-viral, and they're getting like 18 likes. The same content has the same hooks, same engaging tactics. Yeah, but I'm beyond like social media tanking, just the sales numbers for these businesses are tanking too.
Mm.
People don't want to buy instruments for these two businesses. I wonder why. Rough era. Oh yeah, Rob is reposting my notes on socials lately. Yeah, political content has been popping. I don't even have to do anything for my political accounts. That's interesting. Yeah.
I had a thought pop in, specifically around the. Well, first of all, I just want to like, shine light and appreciation for your process and your own health and wellness process, and thank you for sharing that. And it is inspiring to me, and hopefully maybe to others. So it's really, yeah, I love to hear that. And I had a thought pop in because right, you're working with Ruth, and it sounds like, yeah, you're getting benefit from that, which isn't like a super surprise to me, given the fact that I know both you and Ruth. But it's still lovely to hear. And then I was thinking, I was because we talked about, oh well, maybe like it might be cool if you were able to see Gabriele, because Gabriele is the person who created the modality. And then I thought, oh, well, Gabrielle and Chloe just started a podcast. And the format of the podcast is where people go on and have like a session with Gabrielle, and then they, put it on the podcast. And so, that's something where you could do that would be there's not like a fee. They're not asking a fee for it. Like if you feel like you got something, I think this, and you want to give a donation, afterwards. But so it's a way to like, maybe start or have some kind of session with Gabrielle where it's low or no cost. So that was just
Is
an idea.
that video or
It's not
audio?
video. It's only audio.
That's
You don't
cool.
have to like use your name, but it is
That's
like your voice. So you'd have to be okay with that. So that's just kind of like just an idea.
fire. I think that is fire, especially if it's anonymous, because who knows what I'll be talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. But if you're, it's sort of, if you're okay with that, the audio, and you can change your name to, Claudia or whatever.
Audio.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
that's an idea there. We can,
That's
touch
a
base.
great resource. Amazing.
Yeah. Because there's so many, right? You're getting help from wonderful healers, and I have a bias towards Gabrielle. How
Mhm.
great I think she is. That's my bias. That's not saying it's like true, but yeah, right. And then as far as clients, that's a whole thing. Be happy to talk about it. I don't know if there's any like sort of specific like thoughts or whatever popping in around it, at least not now. But yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll stop there.
Does anyone have thoughts on clients, how to survive in this world?
Maybe we all want those answers.
Yeah, I think that's the collective situation.
It's the collective, but it is really interesting to me that like products are not selling right now. I mean, it's a function of the economy, right? I mean, people are just feeling squeezed and yet still want to have experiences. That's what I'm hearing. So that's really interesting what people are valuing.
I think
And-
it's millennials in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But also the clients I have they're like luxury experiences and luxury items. Like not everyone can buy a sitar. Not everyone can go to music camp. So that's another factor for my clients.
Yes, sounds like maybe those clients need to create something in the experience space. Like there's the Lark in the Morning camp, but like you said, it's like over $1,000 or something, right?
Yes.
It's like a big commitment. Sitars are also very expensive. So
Yeah.
are hurdy-gurdies. So are all these like really amazing nickel harpas, all the like really crazy instruments that they sell. But maybe there's some kind of like simple music class thing that they could do online or something that they could make cheap, but if enough people sign up, it like ends up, being
I
something.
love that. I think that's awesome.
And then in terms of social media, I mean, it's hard because they're hiring you to do social media, but because the way the algorithm is working right now, that it's like promoting like political, like energetically charged stuff that will create a lot of like conflict, right? And it's kind of not promoting calm things that are just happening in the community. I mean, until the algorithm is like rebooted in 2025, I don't know. I've kind of personally, I've taken a step back from social media because I felt like I was putting all this energy into filming and editing these reels that were like edutainment, like you said, like educational about the chakras and lining it up with like the week that we're doing each chakra. And it just was like a lot of work, even though I was only doing like 2 of them. but I was doing like 2 of them every week, and they would get like, I don't know how many views, but they would get like only a few likes. And
Yeah,
I know that
totally.
the amount, and I don't care personally about like the numbers and stuff, but as a businesswoman, I have to be like, well, if it's not getting this many views or this many likes, it will not be seen. It will not keep showing up in people's feed. It will die after a couple hours. And I
Yep.
spent 10 hours making something that 5 people see, 5 who are actually already like my friends who maybe even already took the class and were like physically there, you know what I mean, and already know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was just like, I'm gonna continue to film and create content as I want, but I'm banking it. I'm building like a bank account of creative content that I will not release until 2025. And then like
Yeah.
whenever the new algorithm happens, and then I'm just gonna like launch it. Like I'm just gonna like do have a bunch of it and just like release it very consistently and like a lot. So there might be something like that you could talk to your clients about who are not getting the numbers because they're not doing like political or edgy stuff. Maybe you could be like, I'm gonna edit so many reels and I'm gonna put them all in the folder and you can see
For
them in
when
the
things get better.
yeah, and then like they can still like look in the Google Drive folder and see that you're still creating the same amount of content, but maybe like have a light sprinkle of actual posting until the algorithm kicks in, and maybe like really explain to them like it's just not gonna kick in until this time. So maybe
It's a possibility. I'll think about that. I think for now, what my bosses are asking of me, if you guys have any ideas, this is definitely an ask or a need. Do you know how to sell like a bunch of ukuleles? Like, do you know any schools who are willing to buy a shit ton of ukuleles?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, schools would be one way to go, but also like library systems, they have loaner instruments, some of them. So like if you get a big library system, maybe.
Cool, that's a great
That's a good one, yeah.
idea. Thank you.
It's
hmm
interesting.
I feel like I need to sell hundreds of ukuleles in the next few months.
It sounds like, right, which is a pretty, reasonable idea. It sounds like they're sort of saying, hey, let's switch in some ways from marketing to sales, meaning like, marketing, let's just put out all of our stuff to the world and show the world what we're doing, and they'll come to us. The sales, which is saying, hey, where are places where we can specifically go and reach out to that might need like our products. So it's interesting.
And what about this other idea where sometimes people are engaged in something when they receive and another person does too. So say for example, like, hey, we'd really like to sell 10 ukuleles this week, and then we're going to donate one to that library. Like a place where people feel like their contribution actually extends beyond what they've directly paid for, what they actually receive. They get a ukulele, but something else also happens.
Yeah.
This is in line with what I was excited about and proposed to the guy. And he's contemplating it. He is. But he was thinking maybe a charity that's related to ukuleles. And I don't know what I found some Hawaiian charities for him. There are a couple interesting movements there, but then it's like, okay, I have to sell a charity, and that's interesting. If you guys have any charities in mind that you think are like the charity, the thing for a ukulele sale, let me know. I want it to be authentic and not just like slimy, you know what I mean?
well, he's in he's in San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you could also maybe look at like lower income public schools and donate ukuleles to their department. And you could even maybe have him contact like private schools and be like, for every 10 ukuleles you buy, I donate one to a public school. And then the private schools maybe feel less snooty.
I love that because it's local, it's community.
Yeah.
That's
And
really
it's like something he can like actually, like you can see what's happening. You can go to the
Yeah.
school, you can like see that the ceiling tiles are rotting out. Sorry, I've worked in public schools and there's just like, there's so many health hazards. Like they just need all the help that they can get.
I think these ideas are completely fire, and I have gotten so much out of this conversation, and I want to move on to at least one other person because we have like 20 minutes.
I would like to chime in here.
Okay.
First of all, I think you need Eddie Vedder on board with your ukulele.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and so I've experienced everything that you all have been talking about, except for Newman's area. I haven't been ushering or working with Ferdano, but yeah, I'm in working in a business right now with my best friend, one of my 3 best friends, and it's service oriented. So she's doing yoga, sound baths, somatic yoga, meditation, mindfulness meditation, that kind of thing. And I've really steered her away from social media because I just don't understand how it works, and I don't see how anybody's using it very effectively right now. Actually, Zoe, I even did reach out to you on a private Discord on message.
Oh, sorry.
Didn't even think
I
about
don't know how to
into it.
Discord. I'm so bad at Discord. Sorry.
Yeah, so anyway, to just see if you might have any, if you might be able to help me, but
my gosh.
she's basically doing it herself. I'm not having to do the content. She's coming up with some ideas and just doing it. And she's not paying me. So I'm just she's sharing an office with me. So we're just like giving space to each other, supporting each other. And I thought maybe I would take it in a direction of where I would help some other people who are going into body type services, like this one that I'm doing called Artemis. So I've been working a lot on body. I've been doing new body work for pretty intense. So that's all been, that's a rose for me. I haven't been, don't really know what my thorn is, except social media, probably. I mean, just the whole idea of having to deal with social media to promote your business is just, yeah, a big old huge thorns, really sticky, icky thorn. Just don't like it at all. And really would like for it to just go away. But I also think that politics does play into where we are right now with social media. People are getting off of it because they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to deal with the politics either. It's not, I wouldn't feel bad about being apathetic about politics. And I'm not quite sure what you mean, Saya, but it's just, I mean, everybody is right now. It's like, go away. But at the same time, it's so crucial and important, especially right now, and everywhere. France, here, Great Britain just changed their whole system too in Parliament. So, yeah, it's really important, but it's hard to really be passionate about it because it's so messed up. But it'll get back to that at some point. So there, let's see, the bud is, so working with, I've worked, and I've shared with you all before that I've worked with friends. They haven't been best friends, but we had to move on. It didn't work out. But I'm not as good at setting boundaries as you all are. And maybe it's a generational thing. I just think that, growing up kind of like a hippie and just staying a hippie, I just don't have very good boundaries sometimes. So I think kudos to all of you for setting great boundaries. And yeah, so I was going to say, I could maybe use some help with some of the social media work with what I'm doing with Sue, but after hearing what you're saying, especially with the algorithms and everything, I think I'll probably I have really been focusing her on personal communications because she's a service and she's selling an experience and she's selling herself. And we all pick our yoga teachers, and you might go to different ones, but she's got to have her own identity with that, and she's only going to be picked by the people who can relate to her. It's not like a product. So at least a commodity type product. So a ukulele Yeah. So anyway, that's my little thing. Just didn't want to sit here and be quiet the entire time. So wanted to share a little bit of that.
Thank you, Kim. I've been thinking about this minimalist entrepreneur book, and I don't know if it for whatever reason it's just come up. I skimmed it. I don't even know if I finished it, but I remember it being very like formatted for this generation in a different way. Like looking for something different, kind of wanting it to go away. And it just seemed very clear around this sort of stuff about like doing less and sort of paying attention to who you are and not getting lost in the chasing of the stuff. That's kind of
Also,
the big takeaway.
oh, yeah, also spiritual marketing. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like there's also a book on spiritual marketing. So if you're true to yourself and you're marketing something and that you're tied to that, you're going to do well just by paying attention to your own spiritual, needs. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's where I think where I get sort of lost in it is sort of when I start to chase basically chasing the algorithm. Way back when it was sort of new and this was like with the Google algorithm and people were building websites that were just completely horrible, but they showed up really well in Google. And it's sort of the tail wag the dog type of thing where it didn't make any sense, but it somehow worked. But I like the idea of a spiritual marketing, meaning that you're just sort of way I imagine it is like you're truthful to yourself and then try to get that out there. There's a lot of things that it can teach us. Like I think that going through it and getting into the problem or the mess or having the feeling and then winding your way out of it, that's how we grow and sort of expand, and so I think that it's a valuable experience to get into and then get out of, to sort of struggle with it, and then that's what makes it, and then we'll to get us to the next thing, we'll get us to the next thing. That's my belief. And those generations, yeah, we've got generations here, and it is a generational thing that the context gets changed, and we have to work with that. So now we've marketed to like a social network, and we've got these friends and having to deal with those boundaries. And when it's 24/7, a buddy of mine was talking about back in the day when he had to get jobs and there was no cell phones. I mean, this was like a answering machine was like a new thing, and the way he had to run around the neighborhood to like find jobs and to do things was completely different. And the next bits of technology will also put us there. So yeah, the struggle is real and the struggle matters. So, like lift what you can, but then, don't burn out, I guess. That's not advice. It's just me saying.
I really resonated with what both of you were saying, Newman and Kim. And in the next 10 minutes, does anyone want to open up their rose thorn bud? And if we don't have enough time, we could also address it on email or Discord if you want to get your need out there.
Yeah.
Yay.
I do have the hard stop. I may at the meeting just at the top of the hour.
Sure, we should stop then too, probably. That's when we will usually stop. But what does Rob want to bring up in the next 9 minutes?
Yeah, I'm happy to just sort of name my rosebud and thorn, and this, yeah, uh, feels fine to do that, and I don't know that I right have so much advice or whatever on it, so I'll just name it and then see what happens, and maybe I'll try and do it in 4 minutes, and then maybe Justine can do hers. Um, yeah, I think the rose that came in was that there's a connection. This actually came from this needs and offerings market that this person Bart was holding that I went to last month. There's going to be another one in August, and it was great. And basically got connected with somebody who knows how to do WordPress and build WordPress sites. I've been trying to manifest for at least 2 years here. And a job came through, and so we're actually working on a job, and we'll see how it works out with this person, but so far so far so good. And it might be somebody who is interested in doing more of the website design and the building, which I'm less interested in doing. But then she seems like she's less interested in doing kind of the systems and the back end stuff and the tech and and we're both interested in doing kind of some of this the business development and all that. So it could be a cool partnership. Yeah, the thorn. The thorn is I'm just gonna, and then yeah, the bud is I'm actually looking kind of forward to. I'm sort of seeing where they're the next version of our member portal. Where it still seems like a bud, but where there's a way where we can make a decision on that. There's certain things, right, and this involves everybody, but it's I can see a place, right? I know that especially with the member portal and the value exchange, I know I'm heading that up, and so I think it takes as much time as it takes to sort of get to a place where you say, okay, this is what tool we're going to build it on, and this is all of that. But I think that not necessarily even that it's made, but that there's kind of a decision to say hey, this is how we're built. This is how we're building out the next iteration. So that seems cool. All right, and that's it. 4:55. I'm done.
Wow. Damn.
Wow, very good, very good.
Exemplary.
So, I mean, Justine, do you want to bring yours in in a very small amount of time? Not necessary, but at least space.
Yeah, I'll just do a little 5-minute share.
Oh, good.
And yeah, I mean, also, if anybody wanted to stick around longer to reflect on Rob's share or my share, I have a little bit of time after this too, so I'm open. Okay, so I'll just do a little quick. My rose is actually a big one, and it's very, very new. I just launched, I just quietly launched a new program called the Vocal Rehabilitation Program through Somatic Singing. So I've had several friends over the past year come to me because I have severe asthma, and I manage my asthma just with vitamins and natural medicine and lifestyle. And I've kind of devoted my life to learning everything about the physiology of the lungs and the breath system and the throat and the voice as a singer with asthma. And consequently, I've kind of been put through the ringer of different medications. I've tried every form of natural medicine, and over the past 20 years I finally found a system that works. And I've also learned just tons and tons of information about how inflammation happens in the body, and specifically in the lungs and the throat, how inflammation happens in response to allergens or things like mold exposure, or things like fire smoke, things that are really common in California specifically. And so I've had a lot of friends just coming to me being like, I'm allergic to my house. What do I do? Or actually that's happened several times this year because there's so much mold here. Or people, having food allergies that they, are kind of just now realizing that they're having. And So I've been sort of acting as like just like an herbalist and like natural medicine advisor, while also, doing the thing I was saying of like, this is how far I can take you, and then I'm going to refer you to like this, this Reiki healer or this acupuncturist or this nutritionist. So anyways, I've been kind of just doing all this like for free and like helping friends here and there and kind of like as needed, but it's a lot of work because there's just so much information. I have like over 20 years of information that I'm trying to impart to them in like one conversation or one consult, and it just isn't possible. And in order for them to grasp like the grandness of what they're tackling and what their body's going through, they need more. So I'm like writing all these super long emails, giving them like low histamine diet recommendations, grocery lists, like lists of vitamins and what they do and what they're made of. And it's like, it's become like this really big thing. And I'm like, I need to have a container for this explosion of like information and my own like explosion of passion for helping my friends and like being able to see those transformations with them, and like being able to be even just like the first stepping stone in their like path to natural healing feels like really important to me. So I've been developing this program, and I finally, over the past week, actually just completed the web page for it, which doesn't, it's only one web page, but I mean, Saya, you probably know because you're building your website right now, like those things take forever, and like all the content is so important. And especially if you're, writing about like any sort of coaching or anything that's like, you want to be able to eloquently explain what you're offering, right? What your deliverables are, right? So I had to sit down and be like, well, what are my deliverables? Make a list. How do I even explain what these things are in non-medical terms? Because I've been communicating with naturopaths and nutritionists and medical doctors my whole life. So I know all the anatomy, I know all the medical terms, but I'm like having to kind of make it more relatable and like use common language to explain these very complex things on a web page. So that's like my big rose is like I guess this path of like deciding to kind of like create this extension of somatic singing that's more like vocal healing, right? Like somatic healing for the voice, but really addressing like physical medical problems that people are going through, and specifically things that they've seen doctors for and it's not working, or the medications aren't working, or the side effects of the medication outweigh the benefits, right? So creating other opportunities for people to heal. So it's up. I can share it with you guys. Or you can just go to, it's somaticsinging.org/VRP, stands for Vocal Rehab Program. And I just published it this weekend. I haven't even told anybody about it yet. So this is my first.
Congratulations.
That's my big rose.
That's
It's a beautiful rose.
Thank you.
I know Newman has to leave, and next time I promise I will be more of a stickler. It's not in my nature, so I'm sorry that Rob and Justine didn't get to share very much. And
I'm super glad that I stuck around. This is really cool. Yeah. And just I do have to bolt, but wow, thank you so much for the time. I always
thank you.
come and feel better when I'm going.
Me
Thanks, y'all.
too.
All right. Bye.
Awesome. Bye,
Bye,
Newman.
Newman.
Bye.
Beautiful.
I'm also gonna jump off, but I have some really specific needs that I'm just gonna post in Discord.
Oh,
And
great.
if people are down, it's like in the next couple of weeks kind of stuff. So check it out, see if we match up at all.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, Sai.
Bye.
Bye. Kim, I see your Discord message. I've never received a personal Discord message before, I don't think. So thank you. I will respond. Rob, are we allowed to stay on here a little longer? Does it like?
We are allowed, yes. Yeah, we can, yeah, you can stay on this as long as you want. I mean, I probably want to jump off soon, but everybody can stay. Like you're a co-host, which means I can jump off. And there's no meetings that are backed up on
Okay.
the channel.
Okay. Cool then.
We could also just maybe, I mean, I think I liked how we did this last month and we're doing it again. If it becomes like more of a regular thing too, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
there won't be as much like pressure to, stay on and like cover everybody's stuff, because we could also kind of bring it up again in the next one too.
It'll be awesome to see like how we all grow and change and our needs change each month. That would be cool. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know who's leaving.
Well, I do want to say for the record, Zoe, that I sent you a DM in Discord. One
Oh no.
in February and then one in March of 2023. I'm still waiting for a reply. So.
Oh my gosh. I do not know how to Discord. I really apologize to both of you.
I didn't even realize I did, but I thought it'd be funny to send you a message, and I was like, oh wait, I sent you one.
How do I find it? Oh my God. Oh, is that Natalie wrote to me too? Jesus Christ. Okay. Sorry,
Probably.
you guys.
Sorry, I'm just being silly here.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Yes, I see.
Um, before we jump off though, I would, Justine, I think, wow, that's really incredible what you're doing. And, my children's father he has this, kind of what you're talking about. It's like, I thought he might be something in the house. We did find some mold in the shower recently. He's having to replace it, but he's actually allergic to additives in food, chemicals in the food that he's eating, and he's never had a very good diet. So I'm going to send him there to your website too,
Yeah.
because that's a great help for people. I think, our environment is just so awful. And sometimes, especially with, he's 66 years old now. I mean, he's never eaten well. He's been around smoke his entire life in a family that smoked and made their living on cigarettes. And so I don't know if he'll be able to actually heal, but hopefully, he's a very strong person and outdoors, person. But anyway, so it'll be interesting to see. And I just think it's a wonderful service that you're providing to people, and they can understand that you need a container for it. It's huge.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I believe in his power to heal, and the body regenerates. Like, we regenerate all of our cells in cycles of 7 years. So it's more just a matter of like, what can you do to remove allergens from your environment? And that's something that I could help him with. And there might even be, there's even different kinds of processes of like the way that you cook food. There's ways to even purify foods that do have added chemicals. There's also like individual, products and stuff that he can find that are, in stores across the country. So yeah, there and then there's like detox processes too, right? There's different tinctures that you can take, different teas that actually help clean the blood and purify like toxins that are being absorbed. So
Yeah, that's a great thought. I never actually said that to him, because he was actually thinking it was a disorder with his blood, and come to find out it is. So, so that's great. Okay, thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, go team.
Go team. That was amazing. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for facilitating, Zoe.
I tried. I do my best.
I think you succeeded.
Oh, I hope so. This is a group of like amazing facilitators. Like everyone here's. I've been to your facilitations. So okay.
Yeah, I love this exercise. The rose thorn bud is such a great exercise. So thank you.
I love it too. Okay, well, have a wonderful day, everyone. See you later.
You too. Great to see everybody. And I'm just putting Justine's link in the meeting notes. Yeah, great to see everybody. And we'll see. I'm just gonna stop the recording.